To put a box in his backpack, the homeowner quickly jumped out with a bat, detained him. Police later arrived and arrested the suspect.
Home in Fairfax, trash and junk piled high, this sea of trash bags all around the home. Well, the city crew hauled away a lot of that garbage yesterday, and right now the mayor and city officials are back at the home to assess the situation. Let's get to our Annette Adiola live outside the home with more.
A growing homeless population next to a school is creating a dangerous situation.
KTLA's Rachel Menitoff is live in Southgate with more on what residents and parents are telling us. Rachel.
Sure, Micah. People tell us that ever since the adjacent library shut down for renovation, it's been attracting a growing transient population. San Miguel parents tell us that they camp out right next to the kindergarten and pose a danger. And things seemed to escalate this week when a person actually made their way onto school property.
They're here every morning, every night. Sometimes they don't even have clothes on, walking around like on drugs.
They're always tagging up the walls, and then they fight amongst themselves at night.
Sometimes violent, like throwing stuff.
These are just...
Now, there are plans to take the programs there a step further in the spirit of a Norwegian prison model, something they have already tried out in Salinas. John Remus has more on the dark legacy of San Quentin and its coming transformation.
A lot of people don't realize it, but San Quentin really isn't San Quentin anymore, at least not the way we used to think of it. It's not even a maximum security prison, more like medium security. And come the beginning of next year, the entire function of this place is going to change. Big time. It looks the same from the outside, its forbidding facade towering overhead like a medieval castle. But inside, the whole purpose of the prison has changed.
The goal really is to have it be the last stop before people go home. And so if you've got about 2 years before you go home, San Quentin's going to be the place to be.
It's called the California model, and construction has already begun. New buildings are being constructed with cells that look more like small apartments rather than cages. It's being patterned after the prison system in Norway, and San Quentin will be the place for people approaching release from other prisons to get ready for the transition. The facility will feature a cafe and food trucks, all operated by inmates. It will have a farmer's market with produce grown by the gardening program. And there will be lots.
Old enough to sit in the front seat, but state lawmakers could make that a lot more complicated.
Yeah, a new bill at the state capitol would give parents tickets for letting kids under the age of 13 sit up front. Older teens who are too short may be sent to the back as well.
ABC 7 News reporter Lauren Martinez has reaction.
California teens could be banned from riding in the front seat of a car. Last week, Assemblymember Lori Wilson's car seat bill passed its first committee in Sacramento. It would require all children younger than 10 years old to be in a booster seat and prohibit those 13 years old and under from sitting in the front seat. Jennifer Rubin, coordinator with
ED Governor Gavin Newsom is calling these tariffs the largest tax hike of our lifetime. His administration can't immediately say how big the impact will be or how soon the financial hit will come, but they're analyzing all of that right now.
We take the most pressing issue, which is the uncertainty of tariffs.
Of all the threats the Trump administration has made against California, Governor Gavin Newsom said the biggest one is here.
And retaliatory tariffs that are inevitable and a trade war that's inevitable.
Now, his administration is working to figure out just how hard the tariffs and the retaliation could financially hit California.
The short answer is it's not good.
Newsom's Department of Finance spokesman H.D. Palmer noted there are many ways to look at this. First, the stock market situation could be even more.
Dana County Sheriff's deputies filing a $30 million wrongful death claim against the county. They claim the shooting of 37-year-old Jeff Vargas Ramirez was not justified because he was unarmed. Happened last December near Metrolink tracks. Metro had called police. A witness captured the shooting with a cell phone. We do want to warn you, it is disturbing.
Officers need to be told.
It included the people I grew up with in low-income housing. And do we have to wait for that number to hit 25%, for 50%, for 60%? When we have a cost of living crisis with higher insurance rates, higher housing costs, higher grocery costs, Every single one of us was asked to solve this. So how much longer do we have to wait?
And statute and regulatory programs of the state of California that are adding substantial costs. A pause, though, for 5 years in any new state building codes recognizes that we have a patient in the ICU that's on its deathbed, and that is the California housing market. It's the California family that cannot afford these high costs that we've added for the past 15 years.
On to the local news out there. We have Riverside cops got a $100 fine and 48 hours community service in Skateboard Gate where they broke the kid's skateboard. That wasn't a cool thing to do, but probably not worth losing your job over. San Bernardino business owner puts a porta potty, Casey, out in front of his business because he was tired of the vagrants pooping and pissing and doing whatever in front of his business. So he put a porta potty out there. This is how far San Bernardino and the Inland Empire has come to. Chino man opened fire on burglars in his home. He discovered that they had broken into a window and broken into his second-story house. He fired a shot. They are still looking for the suspects. Big drug and chop shop bust in Riverside County, specifically Idlewild, Enza, Agawana, or however they say that, all in those areas. Hemet Sheriff Station was out there in force. 10 arrests, stolen vehicles, and meth, and the usual drug suspects. 2, oh, lovely people, were arrested for a burglary of a postman down in Riverside County. So that Burbank cops actually pulled them over on that. So they are in Riverside's custody. I'm sure will be prosecuted by either Bill O'Saley, the U.S. Attorney's Office, or DA Mike Hestron, or both. One case of measles was reported a couple weeks ago. We found out about it as Riverside University Health System let us know that there has been one case of measles in the eastern end of Riverside County. So we'll be following on that. And then again, Riverside cops get a $100 fine and 48 hours community service in Skateboard Gate where they broke a kid's skateboard in the line of duty, as they say. There's that funky slide guitar music that comes in every Monday through Friday, live at 5, or close to it. Well, we're a little early today, but heck, my video switcher switched me to the other side again, so you saw the big porta potty through all that. Everything I went through, you're showing the porta potty. Poor dude out in San Bernardino had to put that out there on that. He had to put a porta potty out in front of his business because the vagrants were pooping and pissing through his whole, just making it. So he puts a porta potty out in front of his business to try to at least somewhat control so people can come into his business without having a complete heart attack and not be run off by that stuff. Skateboard Gate, where the 2 cops in Riverside busted the kid's skateboard. That wasn't cool. They got a $100 fine and 48 hours community service. It probably wasn't worth losing your job over, but hopefully they learned a lesson on that one. Down in LA, the schools, they got the vagrants running around nude in front of the schools where the kids could see them. How much more of this crap are we going to take? It's absolutely 1,000% ridiculous the stuff we have to endure of that love. This one, if I can get the right one up there, Chino Hills man opened fires on burglars in his home. Fortunately, the burglars got away. I don't know if he hit them. Cops are still looking for them, so good job there on that. The two gang members, or looks like. Well, we don't know if they're gang members, but look at Mr. Tattoo over there. Robbing a postman, the dude that delivers your mail. Ridiculous of some in our society. Newsom gaslighting, trying to gaslight Trump over the tariffs. The whole misinformation going on over that will hopefully clear that up in a bit. Love the big drug bust down there all across from Idlewild all the way down to Anza. And the chop shop and everything else. Get the crooks out of everything. Carl DeMaio, which made a great point, and that other assemblyman, which I don't know his name, I'm assuming he's a Democrat because I don't know who he is. They're both saying the same thing. Hey, housing prices, grocery prices, energy prices are ridiculous. I think the rats are feeling the heat on some of this stuff. And we'll get into that. Hopefully when Dr. Kelly joins us at 5:30 or in a little less than an hour, let's say, she will update us. There was one case of measles a couple weeks ago, was just reported yesterday by Riverside University Health Systems. So we shall see how that works. The San Quentin prison, $239 million. To turn it into a country club for criminals. Saw a little bit, or heard a little bit anyway, on the report. The nanny state, they still can't get over this. The nanny state in California, 16 years old, up to 16 years old. 13 years old, the bill now is if you're under 13, you can't ride in the front seat. And if you're not tall enough, if you're height challenged, or as we used to say, short, you can't ride in the front seat. Now the cop's going to have to get the kid out and with a tape measure and say, well, if you're under 4'6", even though you're 14, 15 years old, what about the people that are driving now that can't see over the steering wheel? Get some pillows so you can, and then they're driving 15 miles an hour because they can't see where they're going. Get some pillows under you, jack yourself up so you can see. Then you won't be road blocking traffic. We can take some interesting turns around here. $30 million claim filed in a wrongful death shooting of deputies in Redlands. See, that should be an interesting case. Following up. One thing that's intriguing in this whole situation we're looking at is, and that's why I played the Carl DeMaio clip and that other assemblyman, I'm assuming he's assemblyman, both on the same track. Both in ultra-liberal, ultra off the blue deep end, deeper than the Pacific Ocean blue, California. Even, I think, well, it's starting with the few in there that got half a brain, that aren't totally off the deep end, are really feeling the heat from their constituents. If you're a Democrat and you're still kind of in that limbo zone in San Diego, Central Valley, maybe out here in the Inland Empire, you're feeling the heat because people are pissed off. It's why they voted for Trump. It's why almost every jurisdiction, even in California, shifted from Biden to Trump in very high percentages. Like the one guy claimed, hey, they put us in these offices to fix this stuff. They didn't put us into office to make it worse. I want to play this again.
The people I grew up with in low-income housing. And do we have to wait for that number to hit 25%, for 50%, for 60%, when we have a cost of living crisis with higher insurance rates, higher housing costs, higher grocery costs? Every single one of us was asked to solve this. So how much longer do we have to wait, especially if we have 5 years to make 60% when we're not even meeting that standard right now?
The Cal Fire, what is it? Whatever the California fire insurance thing, last resort. It's run by the state, but it's actually backed by it's an insurance. It's a pool of all or most of the insurance companies that are in California, and it's broke. The Palisades, the Eaton fire wiped it out times 10. Just had an acquaintance who applied because he couldn't get insurance anywhere else for his home. It's in a rural area, and they says fire danger. The California insurance pool wants $21,000 for homeowners insurance. He's paid like $3,000 to $4,000 for the past 10 years. 4 times, 400% increase. That's what they're up there talking about. How do we? They're saying, well, we're up here to fix it. Well, first, fire Ricardo Lara. Why don't you ask for Ricardo Lara, the insurance commissioner, to resign? That would go a long way. Instead of vacationing on our dime. 40 grand. You, the stupid California taxpayer, paid for Ricardo Lara 5-star hotels, first-class tickets to go to climate change conference. What does that got to do with insurance? His counterpart, insurance commissioner in Illinois, spent $648 in crooked frickin' Illinois. And be lucky you've got a home, but they're going to price you out of it. Even if you're locked in the lower interest rates or you've owned it a long time and your payment's not low, who can stand going from paying a ridiculous amount, $3,000 to $4,000 a year for homeowners insurance, to over $20,000? We got to get back down to letting the free market work. The insurance companies were telling you that's why they were pulling out of the Palisades and pulling out of California in general, like the oil refineries. It's just costing too much to do business in California and every other business that's rolling out of here. You know, so you get an ever. All it's going to do with the insurance companies leaving or not authoring new policies, the ones that are still here, most of them, you're lucky you're not getting the insurance notice saying you've been canceled. We've jacked everything clear out of shape in California. Here's Carl DeMaio on the ever-exploding cost to afford a home in California.
The bill correctly notes studies show $50,000 to $100,000 per single family unit in higher costs just in the last 15 years of added regulations in our state building code. But today's bill only says that we won't do additional harm. We had an emergency session of this legislature in the wake of the horrific fires. We then decided to dispense with that emergency session, but we were promised bold, big, comprehensive reform. With all due respect, this is not enough for those families seeking to rebuild.
So now that your house is burnt down, you're hassling with the insurance companies in Pacific Palisades or Altadena. I heard that in Pacific Palisades, I remember Bass and Trump was saying, hey, get them their damn permits and let them rebuild. But, oh, we're good, Bass. We're going to do that, yada, yada, yada. I think they've issued 4 permits to rebuild homes are in Pacific Palisades. And you know they're going to run those people through the ringer. You heard Carl DeMaio say, and we said it before, the stupid rules and regulations are adding $50,000 to $100,000 for the cost of a new home. On top of that, that's not even counting the $50,000 or $100,000 it costs just to get a building permit. So that's why it's approaching $1 million for the average home in California. Like you said, we've been doing this for 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40 years. Well, almost 50. This really all started with Reagan and CEQA and Nixon with a national act the same. You know, oh, it's all in the environment and all that. The Republicans pulled this crap on you just as much as the Democrats. That's what's sad about this whole deal.
And in the coming days, that will become all too more apparent. And so I will take my colleagues on the other side at their word that they do want to fix the problem. And so I would encourage all of us to amp it up, to step it up, to speed it up, because this is not going to be enough. I'd also point out that as much as we want to do to limit local building code changes, I'm very concerned about the unbridled, unchecked power that this body has delegated to unelected state bureaucrats who impose sweeping and very costly regulations on businesses and homeowners alike. For example, the California Air Resources Board continues to try to push a very costly mandate to ban natural gas appliances.
That's a big one. The ban on, they're trying to make, not only are they banning them, they want you to take the gas, if you have a gas water heater, practically 90% of the homes in California have gas-fired water heaters. They want you to take that out and replace it with an electric one. Most homes' grid does not have the capacity first to do that. So now you're looking at about $10,000 to $15,000 to take out in a lot of homes, and probably most homes in California. By the time you pay a couple grand for the water heater, you're going to have an electrician come out. That's going to be about $4,000 or $5,000, maybe $10,000 to rewire your home so it doesn't burn to the ground, or so it will actually, the water heater will actually work. It won't keep tripping the breakers. This stuff is absolutely ridiculous. And again, any one of these, if that was the only thing they did, we could work around it. This has happened every day for 50, 60 years in California. Now the accumulation of it is just going to crush everyone. It's beyond the pale. of everything that we've been seeing. But man, oh man, maybe we'll get this stuff figured out. More of the absolute ridiculousness in the state of California. San Quentin. Johnny Cash had the, well, that was about 50 years ago, for good 40 plus, probably 50. Yeah, at least 50. He had the song about San Quentin prison. They have taken $239 million of your money and are turning it into a country club for criminals. Hell, people might be beating their doors down, committing crimes just to get in to prisons if they're going to be like this. Let's run that clip again.
A lot of people don't realize it, but San Quentin really isn't San Quentin anymore, at least not the way we used to think of it. It's not even a maximum security prison, more like medium security. And come the beginning of next year, the entire function of this place is
more like medium security. Hell, we just had, what up there? I don't know if it was San Quentin, but somewhere up there, two women were killed, strangled to death by whatever husbands, boyfriends who are in prison. They're spending 2, 3, 4 days in an apartment so they can do the nasty or whatever. 2 in 2 months. Women went in there. To go screw their boyfriend or husband or whatever. And they wound up dead. We're going to do this stuff. And we're paying for this. It's absolutely insane.
It's going to change big time. It looks the same from the outside, its forbidding facade towering overhead like a medieval castle. But inside, the whole purpose of the prison has changed.
The goal really is to have it be the last stop before people go home. And so if you've got about 2 years before you go home, San Quentin's going to be the place to be.
It's called the California model, and construction has already begun. New buildings are being constructed with cells that look more like small apartments rather than cages. It's being patterned after the prison system in Norway, and San Quentin will be the place for people approaching release from other prisons to get ready for the transition. The facility will feature a cafe and food trucks, all operated by inmates. It will have a farmer's market with produce grown by the gardening program. And there will
You know, you can't afford fire insurance. You can't afford $5 a gallon gas. You can't afford $10, $15, $20,000 to replace a perfectly good gas-fired water heater because if fruitcakes want to do that. This stuff, this will be looking pretty darn good. That's a prison. That's going to be San Quentin prison. That's going to be your room. And everybody else, all the rest of the people out there sweating their rear ends off, are paying for it.
That is a huge win for the state of California.
In the past, inmates were just thrown back into the community, and many of them simply failed.
Their prison sentence continues well after they are released from prison. And this is not increasing our safety in our communities, and it is not setting people up for success to stimulate our local economy, and it is not saving taxpayer dollars.
It costs taxpayers about $160,000 for each person incarcerated. And
What have I told you? Well, my video switcher's going crazy. 160 grand. 5 years ago, it was 80,000. We have doubled the price of holding a prisoner in the state of California. That's why we're paying more, even though we've emptied almost half our prisons in that time, went down from 165,000 inmates to less than 100,000. We're paying more. About, I think, 15 or 20 billion dollars a year to the state budget goes to the state prison system. Paying more for almost half the prisoners. We're paying more because this is what we're going to do. This is just like the vagrant deal. Oh, we're going to build them all housing, and they're going to get them off the streets, and they're going to do this, and they're going to be fixed. Like the little emotional appeal, and it's not saving you any money. Prison is not to save money. It's not to rehabilitate. It's to punish people who are doing wrong. And you know what? If you didn't learn your lesson the first time and you go out and do it again, then we're going to show you how much longer. That was the deal with Behind Three Strikes and why crime went down precipitously under 3 strikes. Because on the third time, you were done. You were locked in the prison cell forever. We don't have to worry about you doing anything because we know where you're at. You're not out there harassing the general public, threatening them. From murder to shoplifting to breaking in their houses to stealing their catalytic converters and everything else.
And Last Mile's executive director says the people who will complain that California is coddling its criminals don't understand how much it's costing to keep them behind bars.
There's a lot of people that are naysayers about this, but the facts are the facts. And I think if we stick to the numbers and we look at the decrease in recidivism, the decrease in additional crime that happens when you truly work with people and rehabilitate them, the answer is really clear.
It's never worked. Prove that this has worked. And this is not Norway. Norway has a completely different culture. We got that. And don't talk about the cost. I think the average cost for prisoners in state prison systems across the United States is about $53,000 a year. We're over 3 frickin' times that. This is a classic example of create a crisis where one doesn't exist and then walk in with the solution. The solution is to bag more money from you. You're paying for this nonsense.
You know, I don't think anyone could argue the numbers.
Here's the most important number, 2026. On January 1st of the new year, San Quentin will officially stop being a prison and become a rehabilitation center. And a new legacy will have become.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a new legacy. You can imagine what this is going to freaking cost? Already we've dumped $240 million in this. You know, we don't, hopefully a majority of the people of the state of California will say not no, but hell freaking no. We're not putting up with this kind of idiocracy, stupidity. And of course, it doesn't get any better. California bill would ban some teens up to 16 freaking years old from riding in the front seat. Mandatory, those under 13, and if you're not tall enough, if you're too short, it could be up to 16. We're going to have cops out here with tape measures. The nanny state is absolutely out of freaking control.
Have to sit in the front seat, but state lawmakers could make that a lot more complicated.
Yeah, a new bill at the state capitol would give parents tickets for letting kids under the age of 13 sit up front. Older teens who are too short may be sent to the back as well.
ABC 7 News reporter Lauren Martinez has reaction.
California teens could be banned from riding in the front seat of a car. Last week, Assemblymember Lori Wilson's car seat bill passed its first committee in Sacramento. It would require all children younger than 10 years old to be in a booster seat and prohibit those 13 years old and under from sitting in the front seat. Jennifer Rubin, coordinator with Safe Kids Greater Sacramento, is a supporter.
The national recommendations have been updated for a while, and states like Louisiana and Minnesota already have a law similar to this.
Right now, kids in California must stay in the back seat in their car seat or booster seat until they turn 8 years old or are 4'9" or taller.
Right now, just giving the age of 8 misses a lot of kids that are not tall enough or lanky enough to fit the seatbelt just right.
Benjamin Arias, a certified expert, explains why car seats are not so much tied to age, but tied to belt fit.
The belt's hitting the strongest parts of the body, as through the chest, over the shoulders, and the upper hips, not on the neck, not on the tummy.
Through instruction and education, he hopes adults understand why moving to a seatbelt too early is dangerous.
When I was working at Lucille Packard Children's Hospital, where a child came up to me and she had her glasses indented into her nose because that airbag deployed in her face and pushed her glasses in.
Assemblymember Tom Lackey, who is a former CHP officer, expressed concerns about enforcing the bill.
Having enforced traffic laws, determining the age of children is very difficult to do when you have no verifying identification.
Tom Lackey, one of the few who are in our legislature, he's got half a brain. I think he was a former CHP officer. He was a cop of some kind. How the hell are you going to determine? Again, how are you going to determine if somebody's 11, 10, 12, 13? Well, I guess you can determine if they're 4'9" or taller. I guess you'll have to have, I guess the cops will have to be out there with tape measures going that. What if the kid's wearing heels? Especially if you're a girl, you got heels on. Well, you might pass it today and not with that. Idiocracy. The nanny state is out of freaking control. You know, there's risks in everything. There's risks in getting up in the morning. You know, you could get up and slip on a banana peel and snap your neck and you'll be like Christopher Reeves. Unfortunate, but you drawed the unlucky lottery deal that day. I mean, it's how we get into these situations. And we got to get more like Tom Lackey, Letitia Castillo. Well, we lost Bella Saylor, but hopefully we'll see if that's Natasha Johnson's, how she will do if she's running, or Sheriff Chad Nasele have endorsed her. DeMeo said he's going to make an endorsement next week. Greg Wales, Kate Sanchez down here. Most of the Inland Empire is pretty good, except for Corey Jackson, Moreno Valley, Paris, San Jacinto, some of Hemet, Romoland Nuevo. Might even take in Green Acres. You got to be pretty good on your hillbilly, i.e., geography to know where that is. But we're It's almost mind-boggling that we're in this situation.
At that age level. So you're going to have to trust the parents.
Safety advocates say the main goal is to boost safety and reduce injuries and crashes.
If that child had just been in their $25 or $30 booster seat, they could have skipped those lifelong internal or spinal cord injuries that will impact them for the rest of their lives.
The car seat bill passed out of the Assembly Transportation Committee, and adjustments are still being made. In the South Bay,
You know, they can pass that crap, but they won't pass out a committee.
Tonight.
A mom and they won't pass out a committee. No men, boys, and girls, women's sports, locker rooms, private areas. No, we won't get that out of committee. Boy, we can get the nanny state of this, and we're gonna, for crying out loud, still got the scar right here, standing in the back of the '62 Grand Prix, Pontiac Grand Prix. Had a tachometer on there with a red line adjuster with a knob on it. I remember this as plain as day, going down, my mom was going down Webster Street in Moval, or Sunnymead at the time. So we had the Frosty truck. Some kids running across the street because of Frosty truck. My mom slams the brakes. I was standing up in the back seat, had bucket seats. Bam! From all the way in there, right in it, and my right here hit right in that knob where the red line adjuster was. Blood all over the place. My mom thought I was dead. Just, had a scar, still got it. I was probably 4 years old at the time. Standing up in the back seat. Now, I'll grant you, that's probably not the smartest thing to be doing, but we survived. You can't antiseptic everything. You cannot have a completely safe society. It will not work. Everything it's all about risk management. It's like the insurance deal and everything else. You get to the point where you got so many rules and regulations and this, and they're telling you what to do and that, you just cannot enjoy life. They got you worked up into a neurotic frenzy, going 9,000 directions, thinking you're doing this. Takes 20 minutes to get the kids in the car because you got to do this and you got to do that. I mean, what are we going to say? We can't drive over 10 miles an hour because, if you go 12 miles an hour to dead stop, you could get a basal skull fracture and you will be dead instantly. That's what killed Dale Earnhardt and Joe Weatherly and Tim Williamson and a lot. I've seen a lot of people die. That's where you're right there where your spine goes into your brain. That gets pulled apart. And that can do it. A 12-mile-an-hour impact to a dead stop, you can die of that. I mean, at what point do we take this? There's been a study, people have exorbitant fears over big numbers because we can't deal with them. Human beings can't deal with big numbers. That's why people are afraid to fly. When we just had that tragic accident in the District of Criminals. It was the first one in 15 years. But, when it goes down, 60, 70 people died in that crash, and that's horrific. What is it? You're 10 times, 20 times, 50 times, a ridiculously amount. Odds are you will die of a car crash, than you will ever in a commercial airline. Probably the safest form of travel we have ever come up with. And at the fastest speed. So everybody that complains about speed or this and that, no, if they just slow down. You hear that, if they just slow down. Human beings cannot deal with big numbers or big concepts for the most part. Because hundreds of people probably die every day in traffic accidents. But you never hear, unless one happens in your particular area, you don't hear about it. If somebody dies of a traffic accident in Moreno Valley in a one-car crash, people in Enid, Oklahoma, or Fargo, North Dakota, or Bear, Vermont, they don't hear about it. Everybody heard about the 70 people or whatever that died in the District of Criminals when the helicopter ran into the plane. Again, it's risk assessment. And, just because something goes wrong in one instance, the airbag deployed and their glasses come in and made a scar on their nose, and oh, we can't have a kid sit in the front seat. That's how ridiculous that rendition is. They are gaslighting you, but it's all, and they're doing a good job of controlling you. They have been for a long time. I think people are getting the wiser. I hope we're not going to let, you should be on this assembly, the California Assembly. You can pass a bill as ridiculous as that. Oh, if you're 16, you can't ride in the front seat. But you will not pass a bill out of the committee. No boys, men, and girls, women's sports, locker rooms, private areas. It would almost be insane if it wasn't true. But it is, and we're living it. Hopefully we're not living it for too much longer. Touch on this before we get to the tariffs. Nude people walking around in front of California schools. This is where we got to help with the vagrant, and we can't clean them up, and we can't get rid of them. We got to talk nice. We got to ask them pretty please, will you stop walking nude in front of the school?
Fear in Southgate, where parents say a growing homeless population next to a school is creating a dangerous situation.
KTLA's Rachel Menitoff is live in Southgate with more on what residents and parents are telling us. Rachel?
Sure, Micah. People tell us that ever since the adjacent library shut down for renovation, it's been attracting a growing transient population. San Miguel parents tell us that they camp out right next to the kindergarten and pose a danger. And things seemed to escalate this week when a person actually made their way onto school property.
They're here every morning, every night. Sometimes they don't even have clothes on, walking around on drugs.
They're always tagging up the walls, and then they fight amongst themselves at night.
Sometimes violent, like throwing stuff.
These are just a few of the firsthand accounts from Southgate residents and parents at San Miguel Elementary School. They're talking about a disruptive and oftentimes dangerous transient community stationed outside a now vacant Leland Weaver library. This neighbor lives nearby. Out of fear for her safety, she wants to remain anonymous, but says that because of the library's closure, its parking lot has become a campground for the homeless.
I'm up at 2 in the morning to go to work, so if my car's parked down the street, it's like, hurry up and get to your car because you don't know. I mean, they might be going through something, but it's scary.
Intoxication, nudity, public urination, and other obscene behavior has been reported to Southgate police.
That other obscene behaviors are having sex out in front and around the school, amongst all the other stuff that you've been hearing about. you know, this stuff keeps going on, and I'm not advocating violence or something. But some, you know, they're working on, you know, some dad's going to lose it. It's just how we are in the retarded half of the population. And when you push, and this is just overall, it's like that. You push people too far, ridiculously too far like this. And this is what you're going to get. I mean, it's absolute. It's sad, tragic. I don't know. You can't put enough expletives behind this.
But people say it's to no avail. Elementary school parents were notified Tuesday that an unauthorized person even made their way onto school grounds before being escorted out by campus police. Our KTLA cameras were rolling as a woman from the encampment approached the school's front gate and tried engaging the guard.
You felt like it escalated yesterday when someone came on the premises.
Yeah. I just hope that it doesn't get too out of control.
LAUSD says
it is somewhere, maybe not here, somewhere this is going to get out of control. I can almost guarantee, as sure as I've been about anything, that will happen.
Aware of the situation and is working with local partners regarding solutions. It reiterates that safety protocols are in place and advises that if you see something, say something.
It is a problem, and I feel like something has to be done about it, but plenty of people have complained and nothing has been done.
I've also been reaching out to Southgate PD to find out what it's doing in terms of enforcement in the area. I haven't yet heard back today. That's the latest from Southgate.
Haven't heard back from the cops. That's what they're supposed to be doing. We're paying these guys exorbitant amounts of money. Why do you think the prison system's at $165,000 a year? Why do you think the public safety cost is so much? Your police departments, fire departments, the bulk of it is going to salaries, just like the teachers and the schools and everything else. And they can't deal with it or won't deal with it. We got to have a fundamental restructuring of everything in every agencies, from our schools to our local governments, to our state governments, to our federal governments. There's absolutely no other way around it. The gaslighting and the Trump tariffs start with the great Ashley Zavala's report from KCRA3. Here we go. We thought. They are not giving me the KCRA3 report that I had. Anyway, Newsom is gaslighting. All of California.
The first challenge for any small food.
Now, we're at the point Newsom thinks he can run tariffs. He thinks he has some sort of authority over something that's under the 111% purview of the federal government. And Trump, you might disagree with it. I'm curious to see how this is all going to work out. I'm trusting in Trump and his team, Navarro, Lutnick, and Bessent. see if the report will
Ashley
come out.
Zavala joins us now with the possible impacts on our state and California's budget.
Edie, Governor Gavin Newsom is calling these tariffs the largest tax hike of our lifetime. His administration can't immediately say how big the impact will be or how soon the financial hit will come, but they're analyzing all of that right now.
We take the most pressing issue, which is the uncertainty of tariffs.
Of all the threats the Trump administration has made against California, Governor Gavin Newsom said the biggest one is here.
And retaliatory tariffs that are inevitable and a trade war that's inevitable.
Now, his administration is working to figure out just how hard the tariffs and the retaliation could financially hit California.
The short answer is it's not good.
Newsom's Department of Finance spokesman H.D. Palmer noted there are many ways to look at this. First,
there you got H.D. Palmer, head Republican, one of the ones in the disinformation office, of course working for Gulag Gavin Newsom. First, it was something like this. When the first 25% tariffs were implemented between Mexico and Canada, remember, like the next day, Canada and Mexico said, "Ollie, ollie, oxen, we don't want to play this game." Because their currency dropped about 30%. So what that means, and this is why static analysis will kill you 98.7% of the time, that meant goods and services coming from Canada and Mexico got 5% cheaper because the devaluation of the currency was more than the tariff, so the goods actually got cheaper coming from Mexico. That's why they pulled them back right immediately and said this wasn't a great idea. This is the concept behind it, and we're going to find out if it's going to work. But it seems to be. See why it's not. There we go. Just lower it. Trump says major Nike producer Vietnam wants to slash its tariffs down to 0 after a productive call. The whole, we're all going to tax increase and all that, and the goods are going to get higher, maybe, and probably in some industries, yes. Oh, car prices will get higher than that. Well, certain cars may. Certain cars will be getting cheaper, like Ford. Ford's discounting cars all the way. The demand for cars is going to be there. If we're going to sell whatever the number is, 5 million cars a year, we're going to sell 5 million cars a year. Maybe more of those, if we're going to use 100 million tons of steel, we're still going to use 100 million tons of steel. And whatever. But if it's cheaper to manufacture them in the United States and sell them, you're going to see a big boom in our economy. If the tariffs drive down the other country's currency more than that, the goods actually got cheaper, which will happen in some instances. I'm not a fan of having tariff tax, income tax, duty tax, gasoline tax, which are all in the federal, fees and everything else. If we're going to eliminate, like tax on tips or the income tax, yada, 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 and go back to taxing by tariffs, like we did prior to 1913, then I'm fine with it. Actually, probably be a better. I wish we would have a national sales tax. Actually, a sales tax. Let's split, whatever it is, 10%, 15%, split it between local, state, and federal, third, or whatever. Or however you want to come up with the percentages of that. Because if you want to see a boom in the economy, do not tax income or the producers. Tax the people who are spending because that's much easier to control. if you keep 100% of your money, if you had all the money, most of you that are getting a paycheck, most business owners will understand this.
The stock market.
That if you keep 100% of your money and then you have to work in that, you can control the expenses much more than if somebody takes it before you ever get it. And that's what that's what income taxes and things like that, and inheritance taxes and all this do. That's why they're regressive. Social Security tax is the most regressive tax the poor tax, and the biggest tax the federal government collects. It is a totally regressive, means the poor people pay the bulk of it. The rich people hardly pay any of it. That's what's the crime in this situation. As we work forward, and the gaslighting, Newsom, and all the other naysayers, the stock market's going to go down. Yeah, there's going to be an adjustment period. We all know that. But in the end, if they stick, we're going to see how the plan works out. And Trump is good. If it needs adjustment, he will adjust it.
Can you hear me, Roy?
Yes, I can.
All right.
Thank God for small favors.
Yeah, that's no doubt.
I know what you're saying. Every time you press a button, you're thinking, well, is it going to work? I went through that on the start of the show. So it's a constant battle and all this stuff.
Yeah, that's for sure.
If you've never messed with this electronic stuff, if you've ever messed with it, you know what me and Sean are talking about of that. They can complicate things.
One word that I really hate: Microsoft. 30 seconds.
You got it. Hopefully we'll have Dr. Kelly on again on a Friday. Of that, we'll see if she calls in on that. Of that, we'll catch up with her at the end of the week instead of the beginning of the week, and we'll see what she has to say in the.
Here we go. 10 seconds.
In the measles deal. Those who support America. PatriotSwitch.com.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Opinions expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes in every Monday through Friday, live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire in the aforementioned AM band. Join your vast video audience on the Evil FB Network, Rumble, X. I even think we're cooking on YouTube for once. Man, what a week we've had on this Practice Friday, as we usually do. Man, it's been one heck of a week. As we've seen, I don't know if we're working. Do I have to you, Dr. Kelly, or is it not? No, I guess not. The phone system now is giving me fun stuff going on. We shall see. But it's something else when you get to all this. I don't know. You get to the point of we're at that crossroads. We're getting gaslit at every almost turn of events. Newsom's trying to gaslight us on the tariffs, and everybody else. They're the piranhas smell blood in the water, and they're trying to make a deal of that on Trump's tariffs. $240 million to turn San Quentin Prison into a country club for prisoners. And they're going to tell you how that works. Plus the nonsense, the nanny state, the ultimate nanny state, that just bill passed out of the committee. Up to 16 years old, you cannot sit in the front seat of a car. I mean, but they won't get out of committee that boys, men are not allowed to play in girls, women's sports, be in their locker rooms, bathrooms, everything else. It's insanity of what's going on. But we usually have her on a Monday, but we're ending the week this time on a Friday with the premier physician all the world, as I have determined here, and supreme expert on COVID-19 and just about everything else, Dr. Kelly Victory. Welcome to iNewsWire with Roy.
Thanks for accommodating me on a Friday, Roy. I was at a business meeting all week, getting up to speed on the latest and somewhat overwhelming data with regard, unfortunately, to the harms done by the COVID vaccines. So lots to talk about, but I wasn't able to make it on Monday for that reason. So now my brain is chocked full of data and numbers, and none of it's good.
Well, fill us in on what, give us the news, the good, bad, and the ugly.
Well, I think what we were focusing on this week is the data that's been rolling in. As you well know, I've been reporting on the risk of cancer related to the mRNA shots since before they were ever rolled out. I had predicted this, and unfortunately, I'm proving to be right. The numbers, the cancer rates have skyrocketed. We are seeing unprecedented cases of cancers, colon cancers, lung cancers, pancreatic cancers in very, very young people. Cancer historically is a disease primarily of the older age demographic. Usually, people don't normally get cancer until they're in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, with the exception of childhood leukemias. Now, all of a sudden, we are seeing these, as I said, colon cancers in people in their teens and 20s, pancreatic cancers, again, in the teens and 20s, something that I and my colleagues have never seen before. There are multiple mechanisms by which the mRNA shots, I believe, have induced this, and that's on top of the increased cancer risk that people are facing just as a result of the other things that were done during the pandemic, not the least of which was locking people in their homes, keeping, social isolation, the stress of that, the stress of not being able to go to school or go to work, and the fact that mass numbers of people missed their routine screening exams, their routine colonoscopy or skin cancer exam or mammogram or whatever it was. So the entire thing has really lined up to be a perfect storm. Unfortunately, I think we have really just seen the tip of the iceberg, and we are going to continue, I believe, to see cancer rates skyrocket at least for the next decade.
This reminds me of when this was all going on of that, and we had you on and a lot of other people on expressing these concerns. But the one that really got me was Dr. Robert Malone, who was on the team that invented the RMA technology that did this vaccine that was supposed to cure COVID. And he's talking with Redfield, which was muckety-muck of whatever he was at Trump administration. And he asked Redfield personally, he said, "Are you sure this stuff is going to work?" And because I was on the team that invented this, and this doesn't make any sense. And Redfield said, "Oh, we know what we're doing," assured him of that. And I think that's what turned Dr. Robert Malone against her with the warnings of that. But everybody, from you and everybody else, I mean, Jay Bhattacharya on down, Peter McCullough, all of us and us that were broadcasting it that got shut down and kicked to the can over this, that were right. We were the 3%ers out there waving the flag, and now we're dealing the consequences. We could all see that we're going to come down the pike years later, I think is what you're talking about. We're seeing the manifestation of that, Dr. Kelly.
Absolutely, and Robert Malone was correct. You know, I said from the beginning, even the lipid nanoparticles, forget the mRNA, the little capsule, the little fat globule that the mRNA is packaged in, that in and of itself is carcinogenic. And we knew that it was going to put a serious hit on the immune system. And I remind people on a daily basis, your immune system is your first line of defense against cancer. All of us are not only exposed to carcinogens on a daily basis, things we eat, things in the environment, toxins are all around us, and your immune system is meant to be able to recognize cells when they start to change in form and become neoplastic or precancerous, and your immune system is supposed to wipe them out. When you suppress the immune system, which is what's happened for the millions and millions of people, 80% of Americans, Roy, took at least one of these shots. That's a terrifying statistic because they have harmed their immune systems, many of them against their will, and therefore are not able to fight off these cancers. Then on top of it, we know that the mRNA itself disrupts the body's ability to repair its own DNA, which is a critical function to making sure that you don't develop cancer. It turns off the gene that is supposed to recognize tumors and to suppress their growth. It switches and shifts the kinds of immunoglobulins that you make normally so that you end up, it tells your body to ignore cancerous cells when they develop. It is a really bad cocktail. And as I said, I have, in 35 years of medicine, I've never seen somebody under the age of 50 with colon cancer, let alone somebody in their teens. Patrick Soon-Shiong, who is the owner of the LA Times and a world-renowned surgeon and oncologist, knows cancer inside and out. He has, said that he himself, he has an 8-year-old, 8, with colon cancer, a 13-year-old with pancreatic cancer, and he and his colleagues are seeing the same thing the rest of us are around the country. So I think it needs to be all hands on deck right now in the medical community to look at what we are going to do, how, I'm all about accountability and holding those people who are responsible for this travesty to account. But in the meantime, or at the same time, we have got to come up with some really aggressive ways to reverse the production of spike protein for these poor people who got vaccinated. We need to come up with some different interventions and treatments and therapies to try to help people, because otherwise we're going to see untold suffering and death.
You mentioned Dr. Pat Soon-Shiong of the world-renowned cancer doctor, sold his company for $10 billion to do that. That series or that interview he had with Tucker Carlson was just eerie. He's the same thing. He went through the same thing like Dr. Robert Malone did. And for cancer for many years, he's been saying, no, we're not doing this right. We should be looking at that. He was saying the same thing about the COVID and the vaccine. He said, are you sure of this? Because it ain't, what you're telling me ain't matching up. And this ain't Roy talking. This is a guy that, is off the charts, into this stuff. They were trying to buffalo him or trying to sell him on this stuff. And now, thank goodness, he's speaking out, and more people are being forced to speak out from what you're talking about, is the explosion in cancers among young people where we've never seen this before, Dr. Kelly.
Exactly. And I think that for many of us, I'm not a vaccinologist by training, but I do know, for example, everybody who went to medical school knows or should know that, all viruses mutate. Coronaviruses are particularly good at it. And the part of the virus that is absolutely 100% guaranteed to mutate is the external coating, the spike, the thing on the outside. So why in the world would the, quote, vaccine designers ever have made a vaccine based on the spike protein? Because you knew that was the part that was going to change. You knew it wouldn't, that any vaccine you made that was based on that would last about 5 minutes. because the virus would mutate. Yet that's what they did. Now, they did that for a reason, and I believe they did that so that they could continue to roll out booster after booster after booster after booster and keep telling you needed to come back for another one and another one and another one. And unfortunately, I believe it's largely because people like Bill Gates, George Soros, Klaus Schwab, these people are Malthusians. They believe that the globe is overpopulated. They believe that our population is growing at a rate faster than resources are growing. That was, the premise of Malthus. And these Malthusian types, like Bill Gates, who in my mind is the Antichrist, believe that, that the only way we can, quote, save humanity is by decreasing the population of the earth. And I think they came up with a way to do it.
I can't argue against that theory. I try to stay away from the conspiracy theories as much as possible, but as they've been saying, it's not a conspiracy theory if it proves out true. And time and again, the conspiracy theories seem to be proving out 98.7% of the time of what we're seeing lately, this being the biggest one. Anybody with some common sense could see it. We're a little over 5 years from the lockdown, and it goes back. I don't doubt that 80% of the people got conned into it because, like I said, on that day, I think it was March 18th, 2020, when they did that. And I spent 2 hours driving all around the Inland Empire. I think I passed 3 cars, and 2 of them were cops.
Yeah.
I knew at that particular point we're in deep trouble with this. If people are complying with this kind of stupidity this quickly and buying it, we're in trouble. And I think we're seeing the results of not questioning. If they've got new science or something that convince me, if there is really something and you got it backed up to do this, okay, fine and dandy. They had zero. And then they were telling us lies on top at every turn. It's no wonder we're sitting in the situation we are today, Dr. Kelly.
No, 100%. And, let's face it, they've been trying to do it again. They tried to do it with bird flu. They're trying to do it with measles. They keep trying, raising the fear flag and hoping that you're going to latch onto it because it was so dang successful in COVID. They are going to do this again, and people fell for it. They fell for it, remarkably fast. I was stunned, frankly, Roy, at how quickly people were willing to hand over their civil liberties. In a New York minute, people donned that mask, stayed home, stopped going to school, stopped driving their cars, said, okay, we'll stand 6 feet apart. If you told them to stand on 1 foot, and do jumping jacks, they would have done it. I'm serious. Glue a piece of garlic to your forehead. People would have been, duct taping stuff. It was remarkable. And honestly, it is just incredible how little critical thinking went on and how quickly, with a little bit of fear, how quickly people were willing to comply with pure, unadulterated idiocy. Seriously, stand 6 feet apart in line to get on the plane, then get on the plane, sit 2 inches from the person on your right and your left, and then stand 6 feet apart while you get off the plane. Seriously. And people did it and yelled at other people who weren't doing it. You can't make this up. So we are really at risk for falling for this again. And that's why I am so dedicated to continuing to remind people everything that I said from day one, that I was ridiculed for, derided for, shut down, kicked off social media, had my medical license threatened. Every single thing I said has now been proven to be true and was admitted to be true by Fauci and Birx and Walensky and the rest of them. So don't fall for it again the next time. Listen to those people who got it right the last time, because those are the people who will lead you down the right path, not the, Bernie Sanders and, AOCs and Anthony Fauci's. It's going to be, listen to the people who got it right the last time.
I'll tell you, the bird flu proves that the Trump wall worked. Because over the bird flu, Joe Biden killed 100 million chickens over the last 4 years, drove egg prices to 10, 12 bucks a gallon or a dozen. And you know what? Canada and Mexico didn't kill one. Not one. I guess that wall was good enough to contain the bird flu. I'll get the name out. The bird flu in the United States, and the wall didn't. I guess it was the wall that didn't let it get into Mexico and Canada. This is how freaking insane we are. Now that eggs at least came down from $10 to $3 a gallon here. I mean, a dozen. I don't know why I keep with gases on my mind, but that here in a month. Finally, Trump. Because what? We're actually getting chickens in. We're doing some temporary importing some eggs from somewhere else. That's how quickly. But people bought into this stuff that, oh, the bird flu and eggs got to be this. Hopefully that'll be the last straw before we get a awakening, let's say, in America, Dr. Kelly.
I hope so, and I really hope that this new administration, HHS is off to a good start. They've got a lot of different initiatives going. They've lacked for good communication, but I do believe that they are working on some really good things, trying very hard to clean up the food and get some of these highly processed foods, for example, out of not only the schools, but off of the SNAP program, so that people who are on federal assistance are not in there buying, RC Cola and moon pies and bags of chips. Because it is really driving the high cost of healthcare and the ill health burden in this country. We've got lots of different things. I would love to see them end all of the vaccine mandates. I think that is actually within reach. I think that's something that very well may happen. I am certainly promoting it to happen, and I think that it will. I don't know whether or not they will actually pull the mRNA shots off the market. I doubt it. But if they at least make it so that it's totally up to you, that it's totally your choice, then if people make the poor choice to get those shots going forward, to be clear, 9 million children, Roy, have gotten the latest booster, the 2024-2025 COVID booster. 9 million, 1 million of them being infants, newborn babies, have gotten these latest boosters. This is unconscionable. We have irrefutable data that the shots not only don't work, but they cause irrevocable harm. And the idea that we've just inoculated another million babies, I find just tragic. It's heart-wrenching.
Got a couple minutes left. I want to touch on this because the measles thing is breaking out. Finally, we've had one case reported in Riverside County. They reported it 2 weeks after it is. To me, that signals they're not that concerned about it. They didn't say anything for 2 weeks about it. Is there anything major concern anybody should have about this? They're trying to, with all this other stuff. I'm assuming they're making, they're trying to scare us into something. But what's the real deal on this whole measles outbreak or whatever they're calling it?
Again, no, you are correct. It is fear mongering. Let me just for your listeners to give them some perspective. Last year in 2024. The United States had 1,000 cases of measles. Okay, 1,000. Last year in 2024, Europe, largely altogether, 38 countries, whatever it is, the land mass of Europe, same population as the United States, same land mass, had 127,000. Okay? 127,000 cases of measles in Europe and 1,000 here in the United States. Did you hear Anderson Cooper reporting about the huge measles problem in Europe? Did you hear Sanjay Gupta run around with his hair on fire about the measles? No, you did not. For good reason. There were 38 total deaths in Europe. We've had 1 in the United States. There were 38 in Europe. And we had 1,000. They had 127,000. I mean, seriously. This is fear-mongering on steroids. Stop listening to it. There's no reason that anyone should die of measles in this country if they actually receive proper treatment. It is tragic when somebody who's immunocompromised or dies of measles or doesn't get the proper treatment, as is what happened with the one child in Texas. But put it in perspective, there's absolutely nothing that people should be concerned about at this point.
Fabulous news. That's what I figured, but I can't make that determination because I'm just a ditch bank Okie from Edgemont. You got all the credentials of doing it. Thanks for being on, Dr. Kelly. Maybe we'll be doing this back to back on Monday next week.
We'll get back on Monday, I promise.
You got it. Thanks for being on. We'll do it again Monday.
Bye-bye.
You got it. Dr. Kelly saying it like we say, as only she can. Man, what a deal. Again, the measles deal, no big deal. I didn't even know that. 1,000 cases in the United States, 127,000 in Europe. Why isn't the population of Europe completely wiped out? It sounds like they got it worse than the bubonic plague or whatever is it. Again, maybe this time, maybe we had to go through the COVID con. Maybe enough people after taking that torture are finally getting their heads screwed on right. You know, and that was the problem with it. You quote the boy that called, can't even talk today. Boy that called wolf syndrome has been going on, and that's the danger in this, is that we will get to a point where people won't, if there is something going on, people won't believe it. And then we're really into a humongous mess, as they say. We'll figure it out. Hopefully. I got confidence. As you know, I've been talking about standing up for our country, doing something. These big box stores stayed open while the little guys closed. Will our voices be heard? Does voting with our dollars work? PatriotSwitch.com gives patriots the power to walk away from the big box stores forever. Stop supporting the enemies of freedom now. That's why PatriotSwitch.com was created, for those who support America. PatriotSwitch.com. Is your car doing the hucklebuck and afraid you will be stuck? Well, head on down to Toyota of San Bernardino, Nissan of San Bernardino, Subaru of San Bernardino, and the San Bernardino Auto Mall, and catch a Camry, look ravishing in a Rogue, or be styling in a Subaru. Don't forget I-10 Toyota in Indio for those of you in the lower desert. You deserve to be the happiest human on the planet. So head on down to one of these 4 great dealerships for the car of your dreams. Spread the word. IE Newswire is now on every Monday through Friday, live at 5 p.m. on Rumble and KMET 1490 AM, 5:30 to 6 p.m. Join all the cool kids who want an eclectic look at the news without all the filters of the evil scoundrels of social media and the despicable dorks of the dominant press. Don't bumble and stumble. Subscribe to IE Newswire on Rumble and roll with the best hillbilly hoedown around. That's it. If you want to buy American, go to PatriotSwitch.com. If you need a new Subaru or Toyota, go to one of Cliff Cummings' great dealerships at San Bernardino Auto Mall at the 10 and 215 freeways. Don't forget I-10 Toyota down in the lower desert. Man, what a week. All sorts of things happen. We'll figure it out. We'll come back on Monday. Let you know how things have been sorted out. From that point, do something fun this weekend. If you're in SoCal, the weather will be absolutely Chamber of Commerce fantastic. Sprint cars and stock cars will be at Paris Auto Speedway, so that's something you can take in on Saturday night if you so desire. Go to the beach, go up to the mountains, go to the park. Just kick back and have a barbecue or something to unwind a little bit from some of the rat race that it seems like we're going to endure. But again, I have confidence in everybody. I think even in California, I think we're finally starting to turn the tides off this cone of stupidity we've been in for far too long. And turning it around can come none too quickly. That'll do it for today. We usually say it this time. Mandatory, back here in 71 Hours Wide. Here's the best darn show in the whole wide world. Until then, see ya.
Proceeding was a paid.
All right, Roy, man, I love Dr. Kelly. I swear, she just pulls no punches and gets right to the, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's refreshing.
Yeah.
From the most of the crowd, like that deal about Europe and versus the United States and the measles. I didn't even know that one.
Yeah, no doubt. Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
stunning.
Hey, I'm trying to do something to help supplement my income of somehow. So if you know anybody that's like, got any hiring or something like that going on, let me know. I mean,
okay.
I'm great with talking to people, on the phone. I've got an extremely clean record. I've never been to jail. No accidents, no tickets. And driving record is great. You know what I mean? So, if you know anybody, man, please let me know. It's
Sure,
just
no problem. And just along that I need, and I mean not that it isn't that big of a deal for you, but I mean not unless you want to do it. But I'd like to get one or two people. I like to get a producer back in here and stuff, so I can do a better show of what I'm doing instead of. I mean, I can do it myself, but it gets ragged like today and things.
Yeah.
So I'd like to get a couple people that could kind of, so if one was hot doing something, the other could make it. But if you know anybody that's interested in that, let me know too.
okay. Well, I mean, I could probably do something on maybe a Wednesday and a Thursday. You know what I mean?
There you go. We'll see. But that's something to kick around. But if you're interested, let me know. If you know anybody else around, somebody like that's around the local area. I wouldn't expect them to drive from LA or something.
Yeah. It's
I ain't
hard.
paying that much.
Oh yeah, I realize, but I'll tell you what, man, I'm tired of making shit wages at KMET. It's I even went out and re-got because I was a cook. I worked as a cook for a long time. I even went out and got my food handler's card again, for God's sakes. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because it's frustrating when somebody at McDonald's is making $2 more an hour than somebody, running a radio station.
That's pretty tough to take.
It's fucking stupid. So anyway, but yeah, let me know. I mean, if maybe we can work something out on a Wednesday or a Thursday.
You got it. Okay, just
right.
We'll see how it goes. But yeah, keep in touch. We'll see how show works out.
All right, take it easy, Roy.
Got it.
Bye.